everyone, my name is Kristen Archer, and for our strategic management course, I have been focusing on the automobile firm Honda for our strategic plan, specifically the strategic business area of basic transportation automobiles. So that is what this presentation will cover today. This slide right here contains a table of contents. I have provided you all with a copy of this PowerPoint as well as the presentation. So if you need to navigate through the slides, this specific slide will help you do that. All right, so I want to start by talking a little bit about Honda's strong foundation and history. It was founded in Japan in 1948 by Soichiro Honda and Takeo Fujisawa. It then entered the American market in 1959 with its first overseas subsidiary, which was a storefront located in Los Angeles, California. And now it is a publicly traded multinational conglomerate corporation that has vehicle lines that include cars, crossovers, and SUVs, trucks and minivans, and the very popular motorcycles. Okay, so our strategic segmentation. Conducting one of these strategic segmentations will allow us to see the several strategic business areas for our firm. So to do this, we need to locate the customer need, the technologies used to serve these needs, the customer types, and the geographical areas. So our customer need is personal transportation, and the technologies that can meet this need are internal combustion technology for automobiles, electric technology for automobiles, and then internal combustion technologies for motorcycles. And the customer types are business people, and then we have another customer type that uses our vehicles for pleasure and leisure activities. And then the geography is the United States and the international market. So from that strategic segmentation, we have our strategic business area, which is the basic transportation automobiles. So we can go into even further detail about the needs being served, the technology used to meet those needs, the customer types, and the geographical areas. So the needs being served are transportation, comfort, reliability, safety, and passenger seating. So we do want to be able to carry more than one person in these vehicles for the strategic business area. And the technology that we use to meet those needs are driver assist technology, internal combustion technology. We now have hybrid technology in these vehicles, even though electric vehicles are a separate SBA. This specific SBA has also incorporated the hybrid technology. And then we have features like Sirius XM radio and Apple CarPlay. Our customer type focuses on business people that need a vehicle to get to and from work, to meetings, and wherever else their career takes them. Families, for practices, games, grocery shopping, whatever they may need to use these vehicles for. And then students who often need reliable, affordable, and safe vehicles for transportation. And then our geographical area is pretty broad with this strategic business area. It includes populated cities and then less popular areas like suburbs. Okay, so our environmental turbulence diagram. Our environmental turbulence helps us assess the opportunities, the trends, and the threats in our environment. And so first, looking at discontinuity. Since firms in this industry operate on a global scale, you can see a global socio-political scale score of 5 for complexity of environment. Now, novelty of change, there are only slight adjustments and improvements made to models, so we gave it a score of incremental slow. Rapidity of change is comparable to response. So typically, new models have quality or design improvements yearly, so it is pretty comparable in this environment. And visibility is predictable. Consumers are pretty familiar with this segment, so getting market research and data is pretty accessible. And then finally, the frequency of turbulence level shifts is low, which is why we gave it the score of 2. And when we add all of these categories up and get their average, we have an exact environmental turbulence scale score of 3. All right, so moving on to strategy aggressiveness. There are some factors we can consider when when providing the appropriate levels to these different categories. For one thing, in 2013, Honda made adjustments to the Accord model to keep up with competitors like Toyota and Nissan. So they made a bigger interior and a shorter exterior in order to keep up with their competitors. Our pricing has remained relatively stable over the years, and we keep many popular features among our generation of models. However, we do often look to the future, so we are incorporating futuristic technologies and appearances like our LED design. We also have exclusive patents like our lane departure warning technology. So we do have some future technologies, but we also look at our past performance and keep things similar from our past. So because of all that information, we have delegated a scores of 3 for environmental turbulence, which we discussed earlier, 3 for aggressiveness, it's anticipatory, an incremental slow degree of change, our timeliness is comparable to competition, and then our mindset, which is basically based on the fact that we do look at future opportunities, but we also do look at the past, so we gave it a 3 and a 4. And when you add all these up and take their average, we have an overall strategy aggressiveness score of 2.9. All right, so now we want to look at capability responsiveness, and there are several charts and aspects that are going to go into coming up with an overall score for capability responsiveness. So first we match our responsiveness to turbulence, and we got a score of 3.5 for this, and again we have a 3 for environmental turbulence, we have a market-driven environment level of responsiveness of general management capability, which we also just touched on. And then our change management, for management we seek related change. So we've got a score of 4 for that category, which again gives us a score of 3.5. So this basically tells us that our firm focuses on the future needs of our customers, but we also look at historic successes and historic strategies. So we look to our past, and we also focus on our future, which is driven by the environment to keep us prepared. And that can be seen in our technologies and our patents that we discussed. So that is matching responsiveness to turbulence. Now, moving on to manager success profiles. Basically, this chart shows us that our manager success profiles fall under the controller archetype, the planner archetype, and the entrepreneur archetype. And most of our categories land within the planner archetype. But we do have one under controller, which is rational leadership. So you will find a logical, rational type leadership style among our management. And then under the planner archetype, we have optimal profit goals. We have problem solving that includes optimizing our problem solving. We accept ambiguity, so we don't seek it necessarily, but we also don't reject it. We are just accepting of ambiguity, which follows into our risk propensity. We like familiar risk. We don't try to suppress risks. We also don't look for novel risks, so we do focus on familiar risk. And then again, for our knowledge base, we do operate in a global environment, so that will get a score of 4 and fall under the entrepreneur category, along with our strategic positioning mindset and our predictable future time perspective. Okay, so once we match up our environmental turbulence, our strategy aggressiveness, and our responsiveness of general management capability, we get an overall score of 3.25. So again, the 3 for environmental turbulence, the 3 for strategic aggressiveness, we did have the 2.9, so we classified it as the 3. And then we have the 3 and the 4 for responsiveness of general management capability, because we are market driven, but we are also environment driven, like we discussed. So we have an overall score of 3.25 for capability responsiveness. So moving on, we need to diagnose this alignment that we just talked about with the alignment needed for success. So typically, car manufacturers need a 3.2 level for success. And our environmental turbulence is at an exact score of 3, so we're barely behind the alignment needed for success. Our strategic aggressiveness score is a 2.9, so again, barely behind that. And then our capability responsiveness is a 3.25, so we are slightly ahead of the alignment needed for success, barely. So we almost have a perfect alignment with the alignment needed for success. So basically what this means is that our management can effectively respond to change, and we also have the ability to react to higher turbulence and aggressiveness levels, which makes us very hopeful about this strategic business area that we are operating in. It is likely that we will find success in this SBA. Okay, so after we did our diagnosis, we dove into the strategic position assessment. And I will go ahead and explain this chart in detail in the next slide. But basically, our strategic positioning for our specific SBA is in the optimizing category. So there's optimize, upgrade or maintain, milk, and divest. And we are in the optimizing or stars category, which means that we have a good future attractiveness in this SBA, and we also have a good extrapolated competitive position in this SBA. So to explain this, to provide an analysis of that positioning matrix, our basic transportation vehicles can be considered stars. And that means that we have a historically large sales volume, and we have been profitable from this strategic business area. We also have bright prospects for this strategic business area, and our company is investing resources in this SBA. We are focusing on greener models and more turbocharged models. So basically, if we continue to invest resources into this SBA, and if we continue to look at our historical information to see where we stand, where we can grow, what we have done successfully, then we can be profitable and successful in this strategic business area. Okay, so now that we really want to optimize that strategic business area, we want to expand and grow by implementing a manufacturing facility in Colombia. So Colombia right now has an economy and a government that has been improving, and its geographical distance to North America is attractive. So that is why we chose Colombia for our implementation of our manufacturing facility. Now we will need a strategic response system in order to implement this facility with success. So first, in order to implement this facility, we want to delegate managers. We want to delegate managers, a manager in charge of strategy and a manager in charge of operations. And it's very important for us to remain aware and sensitive of Colombia's culture. So in order to do this, we do want to hire local managers for our plant. And this will help us mesh Honda's corporate culture with Colombian business culture. And we do also need to transfer and acquire employees to work at this new facility. So to continue with our strategic response system, the system that we feel is the most appropriate for this implementation is the strategic issue management. Now, this strategic issue management will help us survey the external and internal environments. And Colombia has had a rough political past, so their political environment is something that we do want to keep our eye on. But it is also becoming more attractive to automobile firms and car manufacturers, so we do want to keep an eye on competition. So those are a few examples of what we will survey in our external environment. We also need to delegate responsibility to a forecasting team, and they will be in charge of surveying these external and internal environments. And we also want to select a planning unit that is going to sort any issues that come up, and they are going to assess the level of impact and the level of urgency that these issues have. And then management needs to assign and support and provide resources to the urgent issues team, and this team is going to be in charge of tackling these issues and addressing and dealing with these issues that arise. Okay, so one important thing that we need to talk about with this implementation is the resistance to change. And there is some anticipated resistance that we can expect with this strategy implementation. And there's two kinds that I want to go over today. And one is systemic resistance, which mainly focuses on incompetence, and then conflict of strategic and operating work. So under incompetence, management may feel that they do not have the skill sets needed or enough information needed to operate in this new environment. Because it's new to them, they may feel like it's too unfamiliar, and the turbulence in this new environment is too unfamiliar, and they may feel like they are incompetent to handle this implementation. Now, conflict of strategic and operating work. This is important because expanding into a new region is risky and it is costly. So when there is high risk and there are high costs, people want to produce positive results. And this often focuses on the daily operations in order to achieve those results, which means that strategic work suffers because more time and effort is put into the daily operating work. So that's the systemic resistance that we anticipate. Now moving on to behavioral resistance that we can anticipate. So there is strategic myopia. And basically this means that our managers are not going to be on board with this implementation because they feel it strays too far from historical success strategies and historical success models. And again, they may not feel it is familiar enough to be a successful implementation, and they may not have the vision to see the potential from this implementation. And then we have personal insecurity among individuals and groups. So our team members in this manufacturing facility, they may feel that they don't have the competence or the skills or the knowledge needed to successfully implement this new facility. They may feel like it is, again, too far from historical norms and historical success strategies to properly implement and be successful at it. They may also not have the vision that is needed to move beyond historical norms and into this new environment. And finally, there is the behavioral resistance that is expected from a fear of loss of recognition and rewards. So many of our team members may feel that because we are so focused on a new implementation and it's something new, it's something different, that we will not incorporate any rewards programs or any recognition programs that were previously implemented, or that they just won't get any recognition in general. So we do need to figure out how to assess this resistance to change in order to be successful with this implementation. So we feel that the best way to tackle resistance to change is with the change management system, the managed resistance strategy. And this one is good for our team because it involves a medium level of urgency in order to promote timely change, which is needed for our facility implementation. And also, we can adjust the speed of this strategy according to factors that come up, which is a positive because it gives us a little bit more control over this change management system. So one of the most important things involved with this manager assistant strategy is delegating an assertive and visionary intrapreneur. So this intrapreneur needs to be able to manage a complex change management system, because this is somewhat complex, this new system, or this system we are implementing. They also need to be able, this person needs to be able to encourage others, and he or she needs to be able to collaborate well with others, but also needs to remain decisive. He or she needs to be able to make decisions when necessary. And again, this leader needs to be able to delegate roles, initiate the implementation, and then manage progress. So the next step in our manager assistant strategy is to have the strategy manager and the operations manager meet with corporate. And we want them to meet with corporate because we want to make sure that we can show them how their roles impact this implementation. We want to make them feel comfortable about this new strategy and how they can help Honda reach its goals and how they play a direct role in the success of this implementation. And we hope that this can relieve some of those myopic tendencies. We also want these managers and corporate to meet to set up a rewards and recognition program for this new team. So again, we want to get rid of any behavioral resistance, any resistance in general, and creating a reward and recognition program will help us do that, because it can incentivize high performance and it can help people feel that they're not losing anything by this new implementation. Now, we also want managers to meet with their team members, the team members of this new facility, so that they can align goals and vision again and help them feel more comfortable and more familiar with this new implementation and this new environment. And a very important step in this change management system is to conduct a 1 to 4 week training session. So the length of the duration of the training session will be based on the position and the group of the person or team. And basically this will help with resistance, because it will make people feel more confident, more comfortable, and then it will make the overall plant more competent. The team members will be more competent because they will be going through a training session that will help them acquire the skills they need, or just feel more comfortable with the skills that they already have. And finally, the change leader needs to consistently monitor and support this process in order to ensure a smooth and a successful transition. Okay, so I just want to go over one more time our strategic business area, our diagnosis, and then our assessment and our plan. So again, our strategic business area is the basic reliable transportation that serves a broad customer base and a broad geographic market. Our strategic diagnosis that we discussed has nearly perfect alignment along environmental turbulence, strategy aggressiveness, and capability responsiveness, which shows that we have a high likelihood of success. And because of that high likelihood of success, we want to optimize our SBA, which falls under our strategic assessment and plan. And in order to really make this new facility implementation successful in Columbia, we want to implement a strategic issue management in order to survey our external and internal environments. And then we want to implement a manager assistance strategy to make sure that our whole team is comfortable and they feel ready and confident and competent to successfully implement this new manufacturing facility in Columbia. So that is the end of the presentation, and if anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to post them in the discussion forum, and I will be in contact through that form of communication. Thank you very much.